Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. Picture this. It's 2008. The global economy is in free fall, and you're juggling two companies that are hemorrhaging money at an alarming rate. One company is attempting the impossible, building electric cars, an idea the world has laughed off as fantasy for over a century. Your first vehicle? A manufacturing disaster that costs way more to produce than anyone will pay for it. Your second company? It builds rockets. You've dumped your entire fortune into it. 3 launches, 3 catastrophic explosions, each failure taking a piece of your dream with it. You're completely tapped out. So broke you're hitting up friends just to cover rent. Meanwhile, your marriage is imploding in the most public, messy way possible. The media has labeled you a fraud. Some rich kid who torched his fortune chasing impossible dreams. You're literally waking up screaming from nightmares. This isn't some Hollywood script. This was Elon Musk's actual life. Years later, standing on stage, someone asked him about that dark period. His response, delivered with that slightly awkward grin of his? I reinvented electric cars and I'm sending people to Mars in a rocket ship. Did you think I was also going to be a chill, normal dude? That single line is your decoder ring for understanding one of the most polarizing, fascinating figures of our generation. It's the question that brilliant biographer Walter Isaacson wrestles with throughout his remarkable book. Isaacson, the guy who brought us the definitive stories of Steve Jobs, Einstein, and Leonardo da Vinci, embedded himself in Musk's world for 2 years. He sat in his meetings, interviewed his family, his friends, his critics. What emerged isn't just a biography. It's an exploration of what drives someone to literally try to change the future of humanity. Today, we're diving deep into that story. By the time we're done, you won't just know what Elon Musk built, you'll understand the why behind it all. You'll see the brutal crucible that forges someone who can stare into the void of total failure and somehow build a stairway to the stars. And you'll understand the steep price he's paid and made everyone around him pay for that relentless drive. This is the story of a man who's simultaneously a visionary and a troublemaker, a genius and an overgrown child, an industrial titan, and an agent of chaos. To really get Elon Musk, you need to travel back to 1970s and 80s, South Africa, a place of stunning landscapes and shocking violence. This is where young Elon learned his first harsh lesson. Life is brutal, and survival means building walls around your heart. As a small, socially awkward kid who couldn't quite read the room, he became a magnet for bullies, and we're not talking about name-calling. One afternoon, a group of boys found him eating lunch, kicked him in the head, then hurled him down concrete stairs. They beat him until his face was so swollen he was unrecognizable. A week in the hospital followed. You'd expect a father to comfort his son after something so traumatic. But Elon Musk was a different breed, an engineer, a charmer, a manipulator who dealt psychological wounds far deeper than any physical beating. When Elon came home from the hospital, Errol actually sided with the bullies. He made Elon stand there for an hour while he screamed at him, calling him worthless, an idiot, a failure. Elon's younger brother Kimball still says watching that verbal assault was the worst moment of his childhood. And this wasn't a one-off incident. This was the pattern. Errol had what the family called a Jekyll and Hyde personality. 1 minute charming, the next minute unleashing hours of psychological torture, always ending with telling Elon how pathetic he was. It was mental torture, Elon recalls, his voice still cracking decades later. He sure knew how to make anything terrible. This childhood forged an incredibly high tolerance for pain. It also taught him to shut down emotionally just to survive. His first wife, Justine, noticed that when your own father constantly calls you worthless, you learn to turn off the parts of you that feel joy, empathy, or fear. This emotional shutdown would later make him a fearless risk-taker, willing to bet everything, but it would also make him cold and difficult. It created what his inner circle calls demon mode, a dark state he slips into when attacked or under extreme pressure. His childhood was pure chaos, and it left him fundamentally uncomfortable with peace. When things get quiet, he gets anxious. He actually thrives on crisis, on storms and drama. As Kimball puts it, he is a drama magnet. That's his compulsion, the theme of his life. Books became his escape hatch. He'd read 10 hours a day, devouring his father's encyclopedias and every science fiction novel he could find. These books gave him purpose. Isaac Asimov's Foundation series planted the idea of preserving human consciousness across the galaxy. Robert Heinlein sparked his interest in artificial intelligence, but it was Douglas Adams's quirky, hilarious Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that truly saved him. The book taught him something profound. It tells the story of a supercomputer built to answer the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. After millions of years of computation, the answer, 42. Problem was, nobody knew what the actual question was. For Elon, this crystallized a mission. Humanity's goal shouldn't just be finding answers, but expanding our consciousness enough to ask better questions. He identified 3 areas that would shape humanity's future: the internet, sustainable energy, and space travel. At 17, he got out. He left South Africa with a backpack of books and a few $1,000s, determined to reach America, the place where, he believed, impossible things could happen. He started in Canada, working brutal jobs like cleaning boiler tubes in a lumber mill, crawling through cramped tunnels in a hazmat suit, shoveling steaming hot sludge. It was grueling work, but compared to his childhood, manageable. Eventually, he landed at the University of Pennsylvania, studying physics and business. Physics to understand reality, business so he'd never have to work for someone clueless. In 1995, just as the internet was exploding, he saw his opening. Netscape had just gone public, and the digital gold rush was on. He dropped out of Stanford's PhD program after literally 2 days to ride the internet wave. He and Kimball launched Zip2, basically an early online Yellow Pages with maps. Classic startup life. Sleeping in the office, showering at the YMCA, eating Jack in the Box every single day. Elon coded like a maniac, often crashing under his desk. He was already a demanding boss, rewriting engineers, code at 2 a.m., and literally wrestling on the office floor with Kimball over decisions. 4 years later, they sold Zip2 to Compaq for over $300 million. At 27, Elon walked away with $22 million. So what does a 27-year-old with sudden wealth do? Buy a $1 million McLaren F1, the fastest production car on Earth. But Musk wasn't interested in just enjoying his money. He told a reporter, "I could go buy my own island in the Bahamas and turn it into a personal kingdom, but I'm much more interested in building and creating a new company." He was ready to push all his chips back to the center of the table. His next bet, revolutionizing finance. He started X.com with an audacious vision, a one-stop financial superstore where everything from banking to investments to credit cards happened instantly online. His key insight? Money is just database entries. Meanwhile, just down the street, another company, co-founded by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin, had a similar idea for peer-to-peer payments called PayPal. The two companies were locked in brutal combat, burning cash to acquire customers. It was a race to see who'd run out of money last. Eventually, survival meant merging. The merger almost died when Musk, showing off his new McLaren to Thiel, spectacularly crashed it, launching the car through the air like a frisbee. Thiel, unbuckled in the passenger seat, walked away unhurt and thought, "Yeah, this guy's a bit crazy." The merged company kept the PayPal name, but Musk, as largest shareholder and chief executive, clashed with the other founders. He insisted on rebuilding everything on Microsoft Windows instead of the Unix platform PayPal's original engineers preferred. Tensions boiled over until, while Musk was on his honeymoon, a honeymoon he'd already delayed for the merger, the board and co-founders staged a coup. They fired him. It was brutal. But instead of fighting or holding grudges, Musk did something unexpected. He supported the new leadership. He understood the company was his baby, and like the mother in Solomon's story, he'd rather give it up than see it destroyed. This move earned lasting respect from the PayPal mafia, who'd later invest in his wildest ventures when everyone else said no. A year later, eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion. Musk, as the largest shareholder, walked with over $180 million after taxes. Now 31 with serious money, he had a chance to do something truly insane. He'd always been haunted by how human progress isn't guaranteed. Civilizations rise and fall. Ancient Egyptians built pyramids, then that knowledge vanished. Romans built aqueducts, then came the Dark Ages. America went to the moon in 1969, but our space ambition had faded. He found this unacceptable. For humanity to have an inspiring future, we had to become multiplanetary. So he decided to go to Mars. His first idea was a publicity stunt called Mars Oasis. Send a robotic greenhouse to Mars with seeds that would grow on the red planet. Pictures of green life on a dead world would, hopefully, reignite humanity's space dreams. To do this, he needed a rocket. He flew to Russia 3 times trying to buy refurbished missiles, but the Russians either mocked him or tried to fleece him. On the flight home from Moscow, frustrated and angry, Musk had a revelation. He turned to his companions, "I think we can build this rocket ourselves." He'd been studying old rocket textbooks and created what he called an idiot index, calculating how much more a finished product costs versus its raw materials. Rockets, he realized, had an absurdly high idiot index. He believed he could build them for a fraction of what aerospace giants like Boeing and Lockheed charged. His friends staged an intervention, showing him a highlight reel of exploding rockets, trying to convince him he'd lose everything. He was unmoved. "The likeliest outcome is that I'll lose all my money," he told them. "But what's the alternative? No progress in space exploration? We've got to try, or we're stuck on Earth forever." In 2002, he founded Space Exploration Technologies, SpaceX. He invested $100 million of his own money and became chief engineer, despite zero formal training in rocketry. He hired Tom Mueller, a brilliant self-taught engine designer who'd been building powerful amateur rockets in his garage. Together, they set out to do what only governments had done before. Simultaneously, another obsession consumed him. In college, he'd written about solar energy and become fascinated by electric cars. In 2003, he met engineers Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, who'd started a tiny company called Tesla Motors. Their plan: build a high-performance electric sports car using thousands of small lithium-ion batteries, the same kind in laptops. Musk was captivated. This was his second mission pillar: accelerating sustainable energy. He invested $6.5 million and became board chairman. Now he had 2 impossible missions running simultaneously. The early years were brutal. SpaceX couldn't get U.S. military base launch permissions due to red tape. So they built a launch site on a tiny, remote Pacific island called Kwajalein Atoll. Total logistical nightmare. Everything, rockets, computers, food, had to be shipped thousands of miles. Salt air corroded equipment. They lived in deteriorating dorm-like buildings. March 2006. First Falcon 1 launch attempt. Musk and team watched it lift off. Then, 25 seconds later, the engine caught fire and it crashed into the ocean. Failure number 1. March 2007. Second attempt. This time it flew 5 minutes, reaching space. But fuel sloshing caused the second stage to spin out of control. Didn't reach orbit. Failure number 2. At Tesla, things were equally grim. Musk became deeply involved in designing their first car, the Roadster. He clashed constantly with Martin Eberhard, demanding changes: carbon fiber body panels, custom seats, electric door handles. These improvements made the car better, but caused massive delays and sent costs spiraling. By 2007, the company was, as Musk later admitted, a burning dumpster fire of stupidity. He fired Eberhard and took direct control, but problems kept multiplying. Then came August 2008, third Falcon 1 launch. Everything had to work. Musk had told his team he only had money for 3 attempts. If we couldn't do it in 3, we deserved to die. The rocket lifted off beautifully. First stage separated perfectly. Then, disaster. A tiny timing issue caused the first stage to bump the second stage, sending it tumbling. The rocket and its satellite payload fell back to Earth and exploded. Failure number 3. This was rock bottom, the moment we started with. SpaceX, failure. Tesla, nearly bankrupt. Global economy, collapsing. Musk, broke. The day after the third failure, in the SpaceX conference room, Musk gathered his devastated team. They expected fury, demon mode unleashed. Instead, he was calm, somber, but resolute. There were parts for one more rocket back at the factory, he told them. Build it, launch it in 6 weeks. A wave of optimism swept the company. As one employee said, "Most of us would have followed him into hell carrying suntan oil after that." 6 weeks later, September 28, 2008, the fourth Falcon 1 stood ready. Everything was on the line. As Musk watched from mission control, the rocket lifted off. First stage burned perfectly. Second stage separated cleanly. 9 minutes later, the Kestrel engine shut down as planned. Payload successfully released into orbit. They'd done it. SpaceX became the first private company in history to reach orbit. The victory was massive, but Musk had no time to celebrate. Tesla was set to run out of money on Christmas Eve. He scraped together every last penny, including loans from friends, and dumped it all in. At 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve 2008, just hours before bankruptcy, the final investor committed. The funding round closed. That same week, SpaceX won a game-changing $1.6 billion NASA contract for cargo missions to the International Space Station. In mere months, Musk went from total ruin to saving both companies. The following decade was a whirlwind of stunning achievements and, quote, production hell. Tesla launched the Model S, so revolutionary that Motor Trend named it Car of the Year, calling it proof positive that America can still make great things. To build it, Musk bought a massive abandoned factory in Fremont, California, for pennies on the dollar, and obsessively redesigned manufacturing. He believed the factory itself, the machine that builds the machine, was the most important product. He put engineers, desks, right on the factory floor, so they'd get instant feedback, when their designs caused assembly problems. Building the Model 3, Tesla's first mass-market car, Musk pushed for extreme automation. Total disaster. Robots couldn't handle simple tasks easy for humans, and the factory ground to a halt. This was the infamous production hell of 2018. Musk moved into the factory, sleeping under his desk or on the roof, working non-stop, driving his team relentlessly. He ripped out malfunctioning robots and, in a stroke of scrappy genius, built a new assembly line in a giant tent in the parking lot. After a brutal push, they hit their target of 5,000 cars per week. Tesla was saved again. Meanwhile, SpaceX was making history. Musk's holy grail was reusability. Why throw away rockets costing tens of millions after one use? Airplanes aren't discarded after one flight. December 2015, after numerous explosive failures, a Falcon 9 booster launched its payload to space, then flew back and landed itself upright at Cape Canaveral. The control room erupted. Spaceflight changed forever. This relentless pace destroyed his personal life. His marriage to Justine ended. He had a roller coaster relationship with actress Tallulah Riley. Married, divorced, remarried, divorced again. Then a tumultuous relationship with actress Amber Heard. In 2018, he met musician Grimes, who understood his geeky sci-fi soul. She became mother to 3 of his children, including a boy they named XAA12, just X, who became his constant companion, riding on his shoulders through factories, sitting in his lap during late-night engineering sessions. He also secretly had twins with Siobhan Zillis, an executive at his brain-computer interface company Neuralink, which aims to create human-AI symbiosis. By early 2022, Musk was at the peak, richest person on Earth. Tesla worth more than the next 9 car companies combined. SpaceX launching more mass to orbit than all other countries and companies combined. But for Musk, calm is unnerving. He needs battles. He needs storms. So he found one: Twitter. He'd always been a prolific, impulsive user, seeing it as the world's public square. But he'd grown frustrated with its content moderation, believing it censored too quickly, and was infected with a woke mind virus that was divisive and hateful. April 2022, after secretly buying 9% of the company's stock, he shocked everyone by announcing a hostile bid to buy Twitter outright for $44 billion. His plan: take it private, transform it into X, the Everything app, a platform for free speech, creator payments, and financial services, fulfilling his original X.com vision from 2 decades earlier. Then he tried backing out, claiming Twitter lied about fake bot accounts. Twitter sued to force the sale, setting up a high-stakes legal battle. His lawyers eventually convinced him he'd lose. He was trapped. He had to buy it. October 26, 2022, he walked into Twitter's San Francisco headquarters carrying a porcelain sink, tweeting a video, "Let that sink in." The culture clash was immediate and explosive. Twitter prided itself on high empathy, nurturing psychological safety. Musk recoiled at that phrase. He believed in being hardcore. In his first 3 weeks, he unleashed an unprecedented corporate blitzkrieg. He fired the chief executive and top executives for cause, moments after closing, denying severance. He brought in Tesla engineers, including his cousins James and Andrew, to conduct rapid code reviews, deciding who stayed and who went. He gave remaining employees an ultimatum: commit to being extremely hardcore, working long, intense hours, or leave with 3 months severance. When the dust settled, he'd cut nearly 80% of the workforce, from almost 8,000 people down to about 2,000. The chaos was relentless. He rolled out Twitter Blue subscription service, leading to a flood of impersonators that scared away major advertisers. He reinstated controversial accounts, including Donald Trump's, based on public poll results. He temporarily suspended journalists' accounts for allegedly doxing him by tracking his private jet. He seemed to be running one of the world's most influential platforms based on impulse, anger, and late-night whims. He was, as his brother warned, acting like a frickin' idiot. He was, once again, in a state of war, fighting on all fronts. But this is where he feels most alive. It's his default setting. So after all that, what do we make of this man? Walter Isaacson's biography doesn't give us simple answers, and that's its greatest strength. It presents Elon Musk in full complexity, without smoothing rough edges or explaining away contradictions. We see the brilliant visionary who grasps fundamental physics and engineering principles, and we see the impulsive man-child picking Twitter fights like a schoolyard bully. We see the leader who inspires people to achieve the impossible, and we see the boss devoid of empathy who can be brutally harsh. The central question Isaacson leaves us with: could a less abrasive, less drama-addicted person have accomplished what he did? Could a chill, normal guy have launched us toward Mars and an electric vehicle future? The book suggests, quite compellingly, probably not. The demons that haunt him also drive him. His aversion to contentment, born from childhood trauma, means he can never rest. Once a goal is achieved, he immediately seeks a harder one. His siege mentality, the feeling he's always fighting for survival, lets him push through production hell that would break normal executives. The dark side and light side aren't separate. They're woven together. As Shakespeare taught us, even the best people are molded out of faults. One powerful takeaway for me is his relentless application of what he calls the algorithm, a 5-step process for engineering and manufacturing. He repeats like a mantra. 1. Question every requirement. Every rule comes from a person. Find that person and question them. Smart people are most dangerous because you're less likely to question them. 2. Delete any part or process you can. If you don't have to add things back later, you didn't delete enough. 3. Simplify and optimize. This comes after deleting, not before. The most common mistake is simplifying something that shouldn't exist. 4. Accelerate cycle time. Speed up the process, but only after working on the first 3 steps. 5. Automate. Don't do it too early. This algorithm isn't just about building rockets or cars. It's a way of thinking. It's about fighting inertia, challenging assumptions, relentlessly stripping things to their essential truths, having a, quote, maniacal sense of urgency. Anyone can apply this, whether building a company, working on a school project, or improving your life. In the end, Elon Musk's story is about will. The sheer, indomitable force of human will, focused with intensity bordering on madness, to bend reality to your vision. He's someone who decided the future he read about in science fiction as a boy wasn't going to build itself. If humanity was going to have an inspiring future among the stars and a sustainable one on Earth, he'd have to make it happen. And he was willing to risk everything, his fortune, reputation, relationships, and sanity, to do it. That was the book summary of Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. We've explored the major arcs of his life today, but a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is in reading the book yourself. It's in those quiet moments, when Isaacson's masterful storytelling reveals a subtle detail, a private text, or a vulnerable conversation that suddenly makes this larger-than-life figure feel profoundly, sometimes painfully, human. This summary is a doorway. If anything we've discussed sparked your curiosity or challenged your perspective, I encourage you to walk through it. Grab a copy, because it's more than just history. It's a deep look into what it takes, and what it costs, to change the world. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please click that like button and subscribe to our channel. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Thank you for joining me, and let's keep learning and growing together.